Well, I was gonna ask you that. Like, did the TV thing you and your girl did that uptick that like hater type of? Did it translate?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think that was kind of like exposed kind of what we were doing. I mean, it wasn't like all real, you know. So it was good for the brand in a way, just because for some reason people like doing business with people that are on TV, I guess,
Yeah, and that's yeah,
for whatever reason.
whatever that means. But yeah,
Yeah.
did how much of it how much of it was real?
Probably like other than like the real proposal and like we were actually in a relationship.
Outside of that, everything like
Yeah,
storylines, all the like
yeah, it's all fake.
Oh, Hollywood.
crazy.
Yeah. So we'd show up to set like this for like 8 hours, and we kind of learn it's just like if we don't find something to like saucy, then we're gonna be here all day.
Oh
So we
yeah,
just
because they're
like
trying to
find
get to
arguments.
something.
Yeah, yeah. It's like what are we gonna argue about? Like had like copied and pasted to like all our family members, tell them to relax. It's not real.
Yeah, that's so funny. Yeah, her dad probably. Yeah.
Yeah. So. Yeah, that's
So
funny.
even though it was fake, how annoying was it, and did it actually cause a feud when the cameras were off?
Did it like cause a few?
Yeah, like
Were you both in on it? Like you both? Like
Yeah,
she
yeah.
knew. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
got you.
We're on the same. She's like a great actor, so I feel like that she needs to like do more of that. To be honest,
Look,
I was just like tired of it. I was like,
well, that's what I was gonna ask. Like being an operational guy, like looking back, do you feel like net it was worth it?
yeah, I think it was worth it. Yeah.
You saw enough uptick from just like in what ways? Was it just brand side that you feel like it was worth it in? Experience?
Yeah. I mean, well, I've generated a lot of connections through the show too.
Yeah.
Met some pretty cool people I probably wouldn't have met if I wasn't on the show. Which is awesome. Like people recognize me, and it's like kind of helps with that aspect, and
Yeah.
networking and stuff like that. So
Did you? You're like I can tell from talking to you, you pay attention to a lot of stuff, like
Mhm.
detail driven guy. It seems like. Did you learn anything from like the production of stuff, like watching how they did stuff or made storylines or branding that surprised you, or was it all just kind of like?
yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm sure it's like there's more than just like a camera and a microphone. There's like 4 or 5 cameras, like
Yeah.
getting different angles, and we have to react because they're trying to move out of the way and like get a
Yeah.
different angle, and it was a lot of um, reenacting. Like we'd
That's
see
what I was gonna
something-
ask. How many
yeah.
times did you do that again? Just
Yeah,
from
it'd be
this
like
side?
4 or 5 times, like every scene. It's like, yeah, there's a lot of repetition. Um, but yeah, there's definitely a lot that goes into the production of it for sure. Um, so I mean, obviously they're like on top of it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, the TV producers are savages. Like,
No
Yeah.
emotion, no love
Yeah.
lost. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
like they don't have families and stuff like that.
Yeah, they
It's-
don't care,
yeah,
man.
savages.
Yeah, we talked to somebody. I forget. We had someone who come through as a client who happened to be on The Bachelor.
hmm
He said producer would just come over and tell him like, just go start a fight with that person.
Yep.
Oh, that's such
Yeah.
a crazy environment. What Let me ask you this. Touching back to what we were talking about. So you're now at the point where y'all are doing like 45 deals a month.
hmm
You also are on a TV show that was 8 hours a day of filming. Like, how do you balance the mixture of those things? You got a lot going on.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was like we stopped filming like 2 years ago. But yeah, it was that we'd pick days where we'd film like a Saturday or Sunday and just knock it out in that day. Yeah, we did it like maybe 4 or 5 days out of the month, so it wasn't
Yeah.
too bad.
Oh, so it was just crashed in.
Yeah,
like, for a
yeah.
That makes sense. I heard. I know you've probably felt this, but I heard Tony Robbins say one time that like, not pandemics necessarily, but like when the market goes down and gets fair, that's when, especially in real estate, but especially in stocks, where everybody starts scooping up as much as they can.
hmm
Did your company grow a lot during COVID? Were you
Yeah.
already big before COVID? What was that?
Yeah,
That
we
kind
were pretty big during COVID. I mean, it was a huge learning experience. Nobody knew what was going to happen, but
yeah.
I was more prepared for like a crash. Like we're still like really
Mhm.
prepared for worst possible case
Yeah.
scenario, so we were ready. Got on the phone with all of our investors and just let them know it's just like just hang
Yeah.
tight
Yeah.
because hard money lenders stopped lending, some banks stopped lending because everybody was scared.
Yeah.
And then obviously what happened, people literally stopped moving, so they started saving all this government money they're getting.
Yep.
They weren't spending anything.
Yep.
They weren't moving. They weren't leaving their house. So the market was literally on a standstill.
Yep.
And so when the market can, or when we could go outside again, now people are like, I'm still looking for a house, and nobody's selling because it's just like, why do I got to sell? I got all this money and we're chilling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nobody was in tough situations the way people thought they would be.
Yeah.
So markets typically go down when people can't afford things and can't uptake or keep up with things. But another huge driving point with the market was just like the stop in shipping. I mean, we're still seeing it with like materials and stuff like that. So yeah, it was a huge adjustment, but I saw it. Like I remember calling investors and nobody was buying houses, and we're like the only company still picking up houses, putting them under contract, closing on them, and we just waited. And then as soon as everybody came back outside, like we were selling houses for like ridiculous amounts of money.
Crazy rebound. Insane rebound. Are you more pessimistic or optimistic when you look at markets?
I think a little bit of both.
Yeah. Like pragmatic to agree. You just kind of take information for what it is.
Yeah. I mean, more of like I gotta like see something like from start to finish, and it's just like I've never seen like a huge crash. And people say Corona was like the crash. Yeah. I'm like, where? It's like people are like, people can't afford it. I'm like, that's not, and on top of that, people couldn't even get evicted. Like the court
because they put stops on everything. Yeah.
So the inventory is still like close to nothing. So we were in a great position during.
Yeah. Wow, what a setup. I'm curious, and I'll let you both jump with this, because both of you had businesses. Yours was probably more established at that point because you guys were getting started. How did you deal with like hiring, leading, staffing? I know for sure from our side, there's a lot of fear in people when it comes to like their job security. Yeah. I think at one point it was like 52 million people were unemployed. How did you handle the directives of that? And I don't want to get into any too sensitive information, but maybe touch slightly, like we saw some of the vaccine mandates come down. Like how did you kind of lead through those muddy waters?
Yeah, well, I guess you can go first.
Yeah. How did I lead through it? For me, it was one of those things. We were opening our retail location right when the stay-at-home order was put in place in Dallas. So we didn't know what to expect. So we were scared shitless. We're like, what are we going to do? People aren't going to come outside. People aren't going to shop with us. So we loaded up with online. We figured out how to shift things, and our online business went up 700%.
Wow.
We started shipping like crazy, investing more in that infrastructure. And then as things started to come out with COVID and people got more comfortable coming out, the resale side of things started to take off. So we went from one storefront, 1,500 square feet, to a 5,000 square foot production facility. Now we've already outgrown that. And we're still waiting for things to kind of slow down or a bubble to burst or whatever. But it's not slowing down.
Yeah, because while people stopped making bigger decisions for season, they were making smaller. Like the D2C market blew up. So that probably played to your advantage a lot. For you guys, during that season where people were probably a little bit fearful, did you ever have to consider downsizing of any sort? Did you have to consider like, or were you able to kind of plan that out?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously it was just like kind of looked at everything, and it was just like, I mean, I'm always like, we like to keep cash reserves for situations in down markets, and like I said, we were kind of like ready for something bad to happen at all times. So we were just like, we're gonna, we got 9 months cash reserves for staff, and we're gonna play it out. And on top of that too, we had a bunch of 1099 contractors that relied on us 100%. And what I learned is just like, you can't just cut them off because it's hard for them to get government aid. So they made the commitment to our company, and it's just like, I'm not just gonna fire these people just because people have to stay home for like a month and a half. But we got creative. We learned how to use Zoom.
Cool. Yeah.
We learned how to use DocuSign in a big way, and I think it helped our business from the long term perspective, because now we could learn how to communicate with people. Just like, hey, I don't have to physically come to you. Just sign it on your phone type deal. So that definitely helped. But we definitely got solution oriented, and it was a humbling experience for sure.
It's a good point. I think a lot of people added a lot of skills during COVID that they probably would have not had to for a long time had it not happened. What it's an interesting spot like scaling entrepreneurs. This is something that I've talked about a lot with people, which is, what is your philosophy on month to month? And you don't have to give any specific numbers, but maybe percent point. How much percentage are you putting back into cash reserves? How much percentage are you putting back into like growth of business at this point versus whatever other stuff you have going on?
Yeah, so that's a great point, because like when you're growing a business, it's a lot easier to put everything or as much as you can back into it to grow it more.
Always just fuel.
Fuel. So, we're in a position where it's just like, okay, this works. Let's add more sauce to it until it doesn't, right? So what we learned is like, okay, we can put so much into the marketing and advertising, but we need staff on the backside, which takes time because you got to train people or you got to hire, train, make sure they're good and have that skill set and build their pipeline, which takes time. But yeah, I mean, for a lot of years, it's just like, it's just like you can constantly reinvest back into it. Like, I mean, I did it for a lot of years just to save on taxes. But then it gets to a point where it's just like, okay, we physically cannot keep spending or continue to spend more to grow this side of it. And now we have to like use the money and buy assets to offset taxes and stuff like that. So
I think it's such an interesting point. In our agency, we're kind of going through this right now. And having gone through it before, it helps a lot being in the season and knowing where to kind of move. I'm curious your thoughts. When you get to a point of growth, people like want to spend so much on scale. The problem is you have to deal with the deliverables and the operations of whatever you spent. So it's easy to get so enamored with the revenue side and not think about like the consequences of the operation side. What's your balance? So did you go like seasonal? I know some entrepreneurs who say they'll invest for 3 months and then spend 3 months training all of the people and dealing with deliverables. Did you guys have a set balance or was it just more you were feeling it out as you went?
Yeah, so you can't really work monthly, and it's even hard quarterly too in real estate just because it takes time to close deals and stuff like that.
Yeah, deals.
So it takes almost like 6 months for us to like generate a lead all the way to like a close. So it's like a half a year.
I had no idea it was that long.
Yeah, well, I mean, realistically, it's like 72 days. But if you look at like the pipeline that the rep or the employee has to build, it's like another 3 months on top of that. So it's like 6 months.
So how do you deal with then? Okay, so if you hire someone tomorrow and they're generating leads for you and they're building their pipeline, it sounds like it's going to take them a while before they're really making the business money.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with like that training period or time period?
Yeah. So I mean, it's like, I mean, on the job training for sure, but we do look at certain characteristics in people, and you can like see the skills and if they're growing consistently based on like little tasks, like if they're able to gain better skills or say something better consistently, and it's not going to happen overnight. So if they're slowly growing, it's just like we're paying attention to that because in 2-3 months you're not going to have to ask as many questions. You're going to understand this. You've already went through that problem. You know how to respond to it, things like that. So yeah, it's tough to see what somebody's able to do until it's done. You know what I mean? So it takes a lot of patience.
I think it has something to do with probably also like the craft or skill of the employee in terms of like market fit. You're probably paying people who are a little more experienced, have spent a lot. Like you're playing a very quality game, right?
Yeah. I mean, I mentioned it earlier, but yeah, we're looking for like sharp people, like the staff that we have. We're looking for like really sharp, talented people or people that are used to making a certain amount of money because they know that they deserve it. They're worth a certain amount. And we typically don't look for people with a lot of experience because what we've learned with people with experience in my business is it's hard to teach somebody. It's hard to teach somebody new habits when they already have habits that don't work, right?
100%.
So
are you a resume guy? Are you a reference guy? Just gut?
Yes and no. So we do pay attention to the resume because we're looking for loyalty. We're looking for there's certain characteristics you can see in resumes. Like if somebody comes in for an interview and they've got a different job every 6 months, it's just like, dude, we're gonna waste 6 months of our time and money.
It's gonna take 6 months before they're even proficient for you.
Yep.
And right when they're proficient, they're out.
Yep. So
big.
Yeah. So that was a big. And we also look for people that worked as teenagers. Because I mean, no offense to people that didn't work as teenagers or did something as a teenager.
Say the truth.
But it's tough when people relied on their family or their parents or something through their teenage years, because when you learn how to become independent through your teenage years, it's just gonna, like, your brain's still developing when you learn how to be independent.
Yeah.
From what I've learned, and it's a lot easier to train somebody and them remember things and them actually care about business and take it serious when they work through teenage years. We also look at, people's personal life, if they're in serious relationships, if they got kids and stuff like that, if they take care of their kids.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd be surprised that people have kids and they don't even tell you they have kids, and they turned out to be pieces of shit. You know what I mean? So we look at certain things like that too.
There's a real downside. I know you struggle with this in your business with, maybe struggle is an aggressive word, but you've had to deal with like staffing and just the whole kind of last year or whatever staffing side. How much turnover, how do you guys deal with turnover?
I mean, it's tough. I mean, I'm in an industry where turnover is inevitable.
Because you're younger.
It's a younger. Like, I mean, you got, and it's
first,
not,
second job.
It's not necessarily a career job unless it's upper management.
Yep.
You got kids going to college. You got people want to move over to the next space. So we prepare ourselves for that no matter what. We still care about the people. We still make sure that we're bringing in the right, people that fit the culture. But in our mind, we're expecting everyone to leave, and that's the way we think about it. But we leave it up to upper management to make sure they're holding everyone accountable, to make sure they're doing everything they need to do so the ship can keep going in the right direction. And that's how we scale. That's how we grow on the retail side of things. Production, it's a lot easier to keep people on staff. You can get more full-time people because that's more of a career. You're going to have logistics. You're going to have, a production manager. You're going to have those types of roles rather than in retail. There's, 2 managers in the store and everyone else is associates, and their shelf life is pretty short.
Yep.
Yeah. You said something earlier. You were referencing kids for employees, but let me backstep. I know from previous podcasts and just knowing you how having kids transitioned your life when you're in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
You had a son 8 months ago.
Yeah, 8 months.
Knox, super congratulations. How has that adjusted the entrepreneurship life for you? Like,
yeah, I mean, I guess I kind of like learn how to balance energy, but it's just time efficiency is just because I want to spend time with him.
Yeah.
And not only that, it's just like I realize now that I have a kid, I see other people that have kids or have had kids, and how I put pressure on them to like work more and stuff like that. Now I'm more like, dude, you need to spend time off to like be with your family because that's what you really do it for. And I've learned, production's much higher when you encourage people to do that in my personal life. And then, it's just like you think about things a little bit different. I used to think, 5 years, 10 years down. Now I'm thinking it's like, what if I die tomorrow?
Yeah.
It's just like the moves I make now. It's just like it's specifically. It's just like now it's
you're a lot more intentional now that you have a kid. You think about those moments, and it's important, especially now. I mean, you have a 7-month-old. Those first 4 years are going to go like that, and those are those years where you don't get back.
Yeah.
Once they turn 5 and 6, they're going to be running all around, kind of forgetting about you,
almost
like little teenagers. So kudos to you for taking that time and being intentional with your children and your family, and spending time together.
Appreciate it.
Let me ask you this. You said something at the beginning of that statement. You said you, I don't remember the phrasing, but you guard your energy, or more aware of your energy.
Mm-hmm.
How, break that down for people? Because I actually think this. Let me try to give a quick synopsis of my beliefs. I think that predominantly entrepreneurs or people in the market are unhappy because they're unaware of their energy spend.
Mm-hmm.
Something sucking energy from a place, and because they're not aware of everywhere that, whether it's family or friends or nightlife, whatever it is, something sucking energy from away from what they want to be doing, drains them. They get emotionally unhappy. They take it out on employees. Like, you see that often in like aspiring entrepreneurs. How have you dealt with energy management, and like, what does that mean?
Yeah, so it's just like when I was younger, I would just like work nonstop, right? Travel all over the place, work as many hours as I possibly could, and then, even before I was in a serious relationship, I would learn it's like I'm working, but I'm not really working. I'm not really being efficient with my time.
Yeah.
Right. And that's a big difference because people can say they work 70 hours a week, but how much are you, how effective are you in that 70 hours? It's not really realistic that you're being effective in that 70-hour time frame. Right. So, it's just like, when I started getting more serious about life, it's just like I started getting burnt out. I realized it's just like, burned out with this product. Let's stop doing it. Let's do something else, or let's stop doing this. And it was like an 18-month cycle of me just getting burned out when I just worked those 70-hour weeks. And then I just realized, I was like, what if I just, leverage what I know and put somebody else in a position to, handle a lot of the issues and time. And then I focus on a different task or a different product. Within, a certain amount of time, which isn't like 70 hours a week, because, I like to travel. I like to do things outside of work and business. And when I'm at work, it's like, now it's time to work. And when I'm off work, it's just like, I'm off work. It's just like, I don't respond to emails, sometimes I don't even respond to DMs, text messages and stuff like that, unless it's like a leader or, something that needs to be done right away. So.
For sure. We how do I want to phrase this? I think that like people overall, when they're going through the entrepreneurship journey, the difference between, let me say it this way, the difference between entrepreneurship and NFL would be you can't work all day because your body can only handle so much on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
Like you might do 2 a days,
Yep.
but you have 9 hours, you can't. And entrepreneurship really, you can wake up in the morning at 4 a.m. and go to bed at midnight when you're starting if you have to. Do you encourage people to do that when they're starting? Do you think you have to go through a season where you just sacrifice everything? Or are you on the side of the fence where it's like, you can build something great early with no capital and still like have fun on the weekend and have fun at your nighttime, like balance?
Yeah, well, I think balance is super important. So like for example, like a lot of people have normal jobs.
Yeah.
You know, not everybody can be in the NFL or own
Yeah.
a successful business, but people have like side hustles.
Yeah.
But I think it's super important to manage your time where it's just like you're gonna focus on your job for however many hours you're getting paid.
Yeah.
And then if you're working on, building a business or whatever, you have a certain amount of time that you're dedicating to that. Because if you're just on the grind nonstop, no days off, and you're gonna hate what you do. It gets less enjoyable. The flavor and the sauce of waking up inspired to go do it. It starts to decrease, and production starts to decrease, which means income starts to decrease.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So
what deflates you?
What deflates me?
Yeah, like you're a motivated dude. You
Yeah.
aspire a lot. You're 27, right?
Yep.
Done a shit ton at 27, right? Like
Yeah.
what takes away your energy? Like what deflates you, demotivates you?
Man, I don't know, lawsuits. They suck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't know. Sometimes I do get anxiety of, just dealing with a lot of problems or trying to solve everything by myself. That's very, I guess, not fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
Yeah, not really too much deflates me. I mean, I don't like, I couldn't, that's a good question.
It's a good thing to have.
So, I mean, you seem like the type that doesn't get too high or low. Would you say that best describes you?
Yeah, I'm pretty balanced, I guess.
I think that's the perfect temperament to have when you're doing what you're doing, especially because deals can fall through at any given moment. So that's nice.
Yeah.
Did you ever have a moment where you, in the NFL wise, you're about to bounce?
Me? Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
For real?
Yeah.
Talk about it.
My,
What do you
my
mean?
rookie season, I got there, and in college, I played tackle. So, I'm blocking defensive ends, more athletic guys, not much power. I get to the NFL, they told me, you're a hybrid type of guy. You're not tall enough, don't have long enough arms to play tackle. So they moved me to guard.
Which, like, okay. But yeah, keep
Yeah,
going.
they moved me to guard.
Yeah.
They moved me to guard. Guard's a lot more physical. It's a lot more barbaric. It's fighting all the time. The fight is right there. There's no running from it. You're dealing with bigger guys, stronger guys. I struggled. I sucked. I didn't play very well my rookie year. The media's blasting me like we wasted a draft pick. The coaching staff, the GM's calling me in this meeting. Hey, man, you need to play better. And I'm just like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I'm good enough to play in the National Football League. But a lot of it was, one was self-doubt, not believing like I was good enough to be there because I was struggling at the time.
Yeah.
And two, not knowing that I had a shitty coaching staff at the time. Like,
Yeah.
So it wasn't very good leadership in the locker room. There's a lot of things that were going wrong, but thank God Andy Reid came in the next year. Andy Heck, who was my O-line coach in Kansas City, my second year in the league. When I got those guys, they encouraged me. They made me believe in myself again.
Yep.
And then I was getting good coaching. And that's why leadership is so important.
Yeah, but talk about like, the wrong voice will give you the wrong thoughts. Like when you were going from some of your earlier businesses when you were younger, because is it fair to say you've always been entrepreneurship minded?
Yeah.
So you're flipping stuff like electronics out of your mom's basement, moving into different sales stuff. You've always been on this kind of entrepreneurship path. Was mentorship ever, because that's what an entrepreneurship mentor would be, like a coach, right?
Yeah.
And did you have those throughout your process?
Man, yes and no. It's like I never had I'm like a direct, hey, this person is, because of this person I have this success. I would tell you, like, my grandpa, was like huge inspiration. He was like one of the first black VPs of like a publicly traded company back in the day, which was crazy. He's like a super influential individual. So it was like I was always inspired by that. But it was just like because he did that first, it put like some level of self-belief in me. Sure. It's just like, if he can do it, so can I. Or if he could do it, I'm just gonna do it better. But yeah, I think putting yourself in a position to have solid support systems also super important. People that know more than you, that are smarter than you, that can teach you things that you can bring value to.
Yeah.
It goes a long way, because when you have problems, somebody else had that problem. It's super easy to pick up the phone and ask the question.
Yeah.
I'm not the type of person that needs motivation. I just need like instructions.
Yeah.
I'm that type of guy. So, it's like, I'm not like, go to Tony Robbins, get motivated, stuff like that. Like, I mean, the job's going to get done. Just tell me how to do the job.
Yeah. So I feel like I have that temperament.
Yeah.
I literally did a leadership talk with our crew Wednesday where I talked about like goal setting.
Mhm.
Like, anybody have to wake me up at 4 to get up.
Yeah.
I'm just going to be up because I want to get the job done. Do you feel like that's a necessary trait of an entrepreneur, or can someone get inspired enough and kind of go through the motivation to, you understand what I'm saying? Do you think people can inspire themselves to do work, or do you think you have to be wired in a certain way to just like, no matter from high or low, I'm getting the job done?
Man, it's different. There's a lot of characteristics and a lot of different personality types, and everybody's different.
Yeah.
The way I work is different than how you work or how you work. And I'm not saying that's not what people need or what they don't need. I don't know the exact code of this simple mindset of seeing something before it's actually there, or being able to develop something in your mind and go out and develop it and making it happen. I feel like that trait's super important when you're an entrepreneur, is being able to believe in something that doesn't exist yet. And when you believe that it's possible and you're going to do it, it's just a matter of time. I think it changes things versus, not being able to do that,
Yeah. I had a mentor tell me once, a lot of people get it, but they don't get it.
Mhm.
And like belief wise, did you always have, I know you can think it. It's easy to think like, oh, I can do something, but to believe it is where I feel like the action starts coming from. Were you always kind of internally confident in your abilities or confident in yourself?
Yeah.
Just always out the gate.
Yeah. And I was always like, confident in myself and the way I presented myself. And I feel like a lot of people respected that through my years in business. I think, you're able to develop skills when you enjoy to do something and you're inspired to do something, and you were talking earlier, it's just like, do you think you have to be born with a certain skill set to be an entrepreneur or not? And I think that's not necessarily the case. I think people can develop any skill set that they put their mind to if they want that ability, and if they can actually see them progressing. Because, how many people do we know that are still trying to be rappers and they're not the best? You know what I mean? It's like, hey man,
I got a studio,
and they believe in themselves 100%. It's just the product's it's not a good product.
Yeah.
So a lot of the times people have what it takes to, be a multimillionaire or whatever level of success you want to call entrepreneurship. They're just in the wrong seat.
Yeah. So that's a good point. Guys like in the media, like guys like Gary Vaynerchuk, people like that, have made a kind of career off of saying statements like, it's better to be number 2 or 3 out of 4 at a company if you're not not an entrepreneur, and they try to define that. I want to try, and I'll jump in with you guys too, but if you had to put like an attributes list, like a My 2K player for entrepreneurship, what would be some of the characteristics that you think you need?
Ooh, that's good.
You know what I'm saying?
You can start with that.
I'd say the number one thing is leadership. Like you really have to be able to lead people and get people to believe what you believe.
So if leaders, you can, it's a skill, right? You can become a leader. How do you got guys on here who have offers, marketing companies, a lot of my audience, like agency owners, small, right? They're growing. The thing that keeps a lot of them capped in their size or bottlenecked is just their own leadership ability. How do you become a better leader? Yeah, right?
Trial and error. You're never going to be good at something unless you make a mistake. You're going to make mistakes being a leader. I think one of the things, especially transitioning from playing football and being a leader in football, is totally different than being a leader in business, in a locker room, and dealing with people. One of the biggest things I struggled with was not necessarily my message, but the delivery of it. Making sure I was saying things the right way.
Yeah.
And that's what I struggled with. I don't struggle with it as much, but right out the gate, I was like, oh, this isn't the locker room anymore. I can't say do your effing job or whatever. But figuring out, don't mistake tone for message.
Yeah. So leadership, what do you got?
Yeah, there's a lot of different characteristics you can break down from leadership, but I would say that's super important. I would say also, being a visionary is super important. Skill sets like sales, I think, is extremely important because that drives revenue to a business.
Every entrepreneur should know how to do sales, yes or no?
Yes,
100%.
You have to. It's physically impossible to not.
So if you aren't a salesperson, either train or find a partner who can work with you who is a salesperson.
See, I mean, when you say like salesperson, a lot of people think, it's just like, oh, I have to go out and sell a product or whatever.
Okay, yeah, break it down for me.
I know people that are really good at like media marketing or whatever, but they have like a persona of like copywriting and stuff like that. I mean, it still has, you have to have the ability to convince somebody to buy a product that they don't necessarily need, or you have to be able to be in a position where you can help people to buy a product that they need or want. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah.
So I know a lot of successful people that are stock trading,
Sure,
they never
yeah.
have to talk to anybody at all, but they're still selling stocks, they're still in
Yeah.
sales of some sort,
Yeah.
you
Do you this is getting super granular, but I actually think this is a lot of like the entre community conversation. So a guy like us who's doing stock trading, he probably works by himself. He's more of just an independent, like accept trades, whatever else. At what line do you become an entrepreneur? Is entrepreneurship defined like, hey, you're just doing your own thing and providing for yourself? Is it you have a staff? Is it like, what are the things that make actual entrepreneurship? Because I've thought about this a lot.
That's a great question. I mean, you have like business owner, you're an entrepreneur, but then you can have like a job and it'd be okay. But
Yeah.
I mean, I guess like entrepreneurship is being able to find your own way without
Yeah.
anybody else.
I like that a lot. Being able to find your own way. That's good. And by the way, you can do that at companies. Like you
Yeah.
can work. You got guys I know that work for you who have spent years with you who are now in position to where I'm sure their families' lives are changed
Yep.
because they found somebody who they could attach their vision with, have good skill set mesh, and kind of follow and do the right things, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you look for people? So if you're out there and you're like, I don't want to run my own thing, like I don't want to be responsible for HR, I don't want to be responsible for legal, don't talk to me about accounting. I want to go be number 2 and just be the right hand and help serve somebody.
Yeah.
What's your recommendation for those people?
Man, it's just like I wouldn't like put a number on. It's like, oh, you're number 2, number 3, or whatever.
Sure, yeah.
I would mostly put it in an aspect of being able to solve problems without needing help. I think that has a lot to do with it. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with being a part of a team. Like I'm a part of a team, so just like somebody comes into my company, it's because we have a team. It's already established, right? 100%. You don't have to go out and develop your own. It's already there.
Yeah.
And I know for me, it's just like I did it by myself for a lot of years, and it was almost impossible for me to grow beyond what I was doing without additional help. Like that's when I started, bringing other people on to help me. It wasn't just so I could use them for their time or make money on them. Is because I know if I bring this person in, they're going to be able to perform better than what I can in this specific task to help the company grow even more. You know what I mean?
Sure. One of the things I encourage, and when I say 1, 2, I guess I'm not necessarily referring to your position in the company, but I encourage a lot of people who want to be entrepreneurial but don't want to like maybe be the person responsible for everything.
Yeah.
Like find a small place and be like the second hire, third hire.
Yeah.
Like if you can get in really early on the company and really problem solve, you can grow with that company. And if you're with a good leader, you're gonna have a good place for life.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
You I want to backtrack a bit. So you had Doxa. When did you start that?
So I started Doxa. I started in the industry when I was like 18.
Right out the gate, right out of high school.
Yeah.
And you were doing what type of marketing were you doing?
So we were selling pretty much AT&T and DirecTV door to door. That's what we started doing.
Yeah.
So I don't know if anybody ever had somebody come to the door and
sell
cable.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There's some pain in his face. Yeah.
So
sorry.
Yeah, I started doing that. I was doing it personally, and then I learned I was pretty good at it. And then I got burnt out. I was like, I don't want to do this. This sucks. Like I don't want to be in the heat, whatever. And then my boss at the time was like, well, you don't have to. All you have to do is teach enough people how to do it, and then you don't have to be in the heat anymore. And I was like, what? That's cool. Like, and I was young. I didn't know any different. So I just kind of went with it. New people would come in. I'd train them how to do it. I'd keep a percentage. And all of a sudden I was making more on a team than I was making by myself in the field. And then we just, continued to scale it and grow it. And then I ended up partnering with my boss at the time, and we started Doxa. And then we grew it, nationwide. Then we got into B2B sales, which is a lot different.
Yeah.
And we made a lot of money doing that. We learned how to, negotiate contracts with, AT&T, DirecTV. I mean, a majority of the money we made in that business is like right when AT&T and DirecTV merged. And like literally what we're doing is going to bars and restaurants, and it's like, hey, you have the services, we're going to give you more service at a cheaper price. And it was like printing money almost. Like somebody opened a bar or restaurant, had DirecTV in it. We did the installations, the whole shebang. We had warehouses full of equipment, and we helped a lot of people. We helped a lot of businesses. We Hired a lot of staff. They did really well. But yeah, it was a grind for sure.
People undervalue the importance of timing, like getting into a market at the right time plays such a big difference in success. You, am I right in understanding you moved a lot of the profits you were making from Doxa to start flipping houses? You started out doing rehab stuff?
Yeah. So when I got into real estate, I started wholesaling. I don't know if you guys know what that is. So started wholesaling houses, mostly to like learn things. Like I even took classes in college to like get my real estate license.
Yeah.
And I remember before I was about to get my license, my professor's like, if you're going to be an investor, it's not smart to get your real estate license because you have to disclose all these things. You can't be as aggressive. And I'm like, I'm aggressive as fuck. Like,
yeah.
I'm not trying to disclose that I'm trying to buy their house. Like, I know what your house is worth and I'm buying it at this price, you know? So it's like, didn't get my license, went down the investor route and then started doing fix and flips. So, buying houses from other wholesalers and agents. And then I would, raise money to buy the properties and do the work and then invest, the money that I did had into real estate. So did that, learned it, did a couple deals and, just continue to invest everything I had into it,
Yeah.
So
that's sweet. You, I want to touch on maybe your own, I'm assuming at this point you have your business that handles the deals, and then you probably have your own portfolio side of stuff that you're just doing under your own. As a person who's successful in real estate, I'm always curious of this. How diversified do you go? Do you keep like most stuff going real estate? Are you into stocks? Are you into like other business ventures? How at this point do you manage deploying kind of your resources?
So I'm not the type of person that likes to have, multiple businesses. If one, like I'm focused on one thing, like I like to stay in my lane, but I do have, I have a SaaS company. I own a call center. There's like 85, 87 different ways to make money in real estate. I own a transaction company. I own a holding company, a wholesale company, a fix and flip company. Like I have 8 different companies.
Yeah.
So there's kind of a lot that goes into it, to be honest. As far as like diversifying, I like to, lend money to other investors and get a return. I invest into, commercial properties as an LP. So I don't have to do anything. I just give them the money and they can pay me a return and then we keep profits on the backside. I do some stocks, not a lot, but it's there.
It's such an interesting thing though. Cause like, at some point when you start getting successful, and this is conversations, debates I have with people sometimes, like the goal is to be the bank.
Yeah.
The goal is not to make much money. The goal is to be able to give money out and let it go do stuff. We all get that. But I think a lot of young people have their eye on like, I need to make $200K a month, $300K a month. And that's great. But at some point you're going to want to transition, like maybe less income and more going into places where you can put that money and deploy it and keep some of it. But you did say something I thought is interesting, how you stay kind of inside of your, I don't want to say competency lane, but like where you're proficient. Like real estate's where you're an expert, an industry leader at it. Do you think most people should stay specifically inside of where they're competent? Or how do you deal? Like Jeff's a great example. You're in the NFL. You had a large sum of money. Weren't necessarily an expert at any stocks, real estate, trading. What type of advice do you give to people like that who don't have a business that need to figure out where to put their money at?
For me?
Well, either one of you can go.
For me, anything that I invested in, I knew what the fuck I was doing. So I literally if I knew what I was doing, I invested in it.
So you just spent a ton of time.
I wasn't investing in anybody else's business, not at that time, because I didn't have enough time to sit down with them. I wasn't day to day with them. I didn't know the person's personality. I didn't know the characteristics. I didn't know the person well enough because I didn't have the time. So I was doing what I was doing. I stayed in my lane. I invested in bonds. I was very conservative. I did the things that I knew would yield, a little return until my retirement.
Yeah.
So you're talking conservative. You mentioned earlier you're a pretty aggressive person when it comes to business. Are you that way with your investing?
No. So it's funny. It's like, I don't know if I'm the only one, but like my core group of people that I know, they say you can take risks to be successful, but we don't like taking risks. We like guaranteed, like
I want to
if
know
it's
my
not
money's
guaranteed, we're looking at worst possible case scenario, what could happen. And even if we make a little bit on that, that's what we're going for, you know? So, that's like the stocks I invest into. They're, all the big stocks like Amazon, AT&T, Google and stuff like that, businesses that aren't going to go away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not out here, spending spending all my money on Bitcoin hoping for a return.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This isn't gambling.
I think when you get to a point, cash preservation is higher up on the hierarchy than maybe making more. Like, can I just keep it and make sure that I can maintain what I have is the most important thing. So maybe you start earlier on. You got to take a little bit of risk.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you made a good point. It wasn't like it's never the goal to like stop making money. It's just like you have to learn how to manage that money in the most tax efficient way, I guess. Just because when you start making a lot of money, the man's going to want a lot of the money too. So it's just like, how can we give less of that money to the man? So there you can do a couple things. Obviously, invest in real estate, or reinvest back into what you're doing.
Yeah.
So like for a lot of years, like literally in December, we would prepay for marketing for the next year.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
And then
Smart.
and invest into people. Give people pay raises and bonuses, things of that nature. And then if you're not in a position to grow more of what you're currently doing, then you can invest some of those funds into IRA funds or stocks or real estate or whatever to help avoid some of the offset taxes.
Yeah. I want to transition for a second because you mentioned your company, bonuses, all that stuff. Watching from afar, which is afar, we're barely getting to know each other, but strong leader. I saw some stuff you posted when it was like COVID was hitting hard about how you take care of your employees. And you can see it. They say like if a tree's healthy, it'll bear fruit. You can see the fruit of your business from outside. What's the plan? Like where do you want to take your company over the next 10 years? Is this like, do you guys have aspirations to be in every market? Like what are your aspirations?
Yeah, so we're kind of learning that like in the products that we're dealing with, which is real estate, we're mostly single family right now. And we haven't even really scraped the surface of commercial. So it's just, bigger deal sizes in which we don't have to do so many transactions. So it's like not less transactions, but bigger transactions.
For sure.
So, we're definitely going to be $1 billion company. And, that's the only way to do it is to scale into more bigger commercial opportunities.
Have you stayed away from commercial up to this point because of just being tactical and where you're at, wanting to wait a little bit longer, or did some of it play into COVID changed commercial landscape quite a bit for at least a couple of years where people weren't in the office and whatever else? Did that play any effect to it at all?
No, a couple of things. I mean, obviously, like I said, I like doing one thing until I'm like the best at it. The second thing is being able to leverage and make sure it works without me being involved or attention span. And then the third thing is staff. I have to have staff that's going to be to support a new product. And that was the main three reasons why we didn't enter into commercial way earlier, is just because of that.
Makes sense.
And then obviously, experience and learning and stuff like that. But, we had a product that's working. It's like, okay, let's take advantage as much as we can. Let's grow it to a point. And obviously, once we do this, then we can move on to another product and bring that into the realm as well.
That makes a ton of sense. Do you feel like you've made it?
No.
Not yet?
Definitely didn't make it, no.
Do you have an idea of when that will be? Like, is $1 billion like you made it if your company's valued at that?
Man, to be honest, it's just like there was a time in my career where I hit like a certain level of depression because I didn't necessarily know what I wanted.
Yeah, talk about that. That's huge.
Yeah. And everybody wants like the big house, the cars, the vacations, the girls, whatever. But once you have all that, like it's literally like a real thing when people say like money isn't everything.
Yeah.
Because that's what my living purpose was. Like my living purpose was for me to make as much money as I can. Let me spend as much money as I can and be the man. But eventually, once you start taking your life serious, I guess everybody grows into a different way.
Yeah.
And for me, it's just like I just had to understand, where my lane was or my position was in business. And on top of that, it's just like I had to learn how to work and still be fulfilled too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's just like when you're working for no fulfillment, it's only going to last for so long. And until you realize what you're doing is for a reason, or what that reason is, or how you're going to obtain that reason, it's going to be really hard for you to like stay focused. You know what I mean? So to be honest, a long or a short answer to that long answer was, I don't think I'll ever stop working. You know what I mean? I think I'm always going to find different areas in business for me to find fulfillment.
Huge.
That makes sense.
I can probably guess what your fulfillment is, and that's probably helping people.
Oh yeah, for
and
sure.
Making sure that you elevate someone else rather than yourself. So.
Yeah, I mean, you can only make so much money in the world. It's just like, I'm sure you experienced it. Like I'm like the only one paid around me. It's like that's boring. Like it feels much better being able to put somebody else on and seeing them grow and prosper, and you're the direct influence of that happening. So it's just like goes back to the saying, it's just like, helping enough people to get what they want, you get what you want. And what they don't tell you is like, helping people get what they want is what you want.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's a bar. What you just said, I'm super passionate about, because if you look at even just like depression, suicide rates in the entrepreneurship community, they've gotten really high. And I think there's all types of reasons for it. I don't pretend to be some sort of psychologist and understand the ins and outs of it. But I do think from the outside looking in, you can see that there's a sense of a younger group of people who have not established purpose really in their life yet.
Yep.
They're trying to fulfill themselves through things that just aren't sustainable. In that season, I think it's so cool to see somebody who's doing what you're doing. Talk about that. In that season, how did you navigate those waters of feeling that like burnout, lack of purpose? You even said the word depression, I think. Like, how'd you deal with that?
Man, I did a lot of traveling, to be honest. I did take a lot of time off too.
Yeah.
And you know, me personally, I feel like I learned a lot of things going to different countries. But I think the biggest thing that I learned is, you know, to be grateful.
Yeah.
Because you see like what is successful somewhere else in a part of the world that you never imagined, and what they feel like is a good life is like, wow, blessed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like that like switched the gear in me. It was like, you know, we have so much opportunity, you know, in America or in this world in general.
Yeah.
And I feel like I was, you know, living to my full potential, seeing a lot of what I saw in the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sorry, this vacuum's driving me crazy.
What time were we at? Cool. We'll do like 10 more and wrap up. That's fine.
Hey, can we get 2 minutes? The vacuum?
Oh, y'all back there trying to
2 minutes?
Gotta get your baseball signs down.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good, man. Okay, I need a little break.
Great conversation.
I know. We good to just roll right back in? Okay, because I wanted to jump off what you were saying. It felt like a lot of what you were saying was perspective. I think perspective is massive, like the filter, the paradigm you look at the world through. How do you keep perspective? This is something I'm so interested in, if I can set the stage a bit, because I think that as success happens, and I've had my own versions of this, these seasons of my life where it's like, okay, maybe you're taking care of your family, you're retiring your family, like you're at that point where things are going well. It's so easy for your perspective to get jaded on why these things happen. Like, I'm the best that's ever. How do you keep humility? How do you keep perspective on how to lead people? Those type of things in your life.
I guess learning how to keep it is just, I mean, there's a lot of trial and error. Like, I mean, I mean, you learn things through life when you see how others react to what you're doing. You know, and you get to a point where you realize it's just like, okay, maybe I'm not the best leader. Maybe I need to improve in this aspect. Maybe I need to improve on my delivery, right? Like I went through an experience a couple years ago where my CEO at the time ended up stealing a bunch of money from the company, and I didn't see it for a long time. Like it took like 6 months because I just trusted him doing that. And, you know, initially it's like mad and upset and stuff like that. But then I realized, I was like, you know what? Somebody's doing this for a reason. And if I was Jeff Bezos and the same person was involved, he wouldn't do that to Jeff Bezos, right? So then I realized, I was like, okay, I'm not the best leader. You know, I have to take full responsibility for that. And, you know, it humbled me in a sense. It's just like, okay, I need to improve on my delivery and being able to have an open door policy so people can communicate, stuff like that. But as far as, you know, the perspective, I think you have to kind of see and stay focused in a positive perspective, obviously. But in a perspective of how can I say this? Like I guess I'm losing my train of thought.
Right, no, you hit that right on the head. I love what you just said. We have this saying in our office, like, honor is the currency of success. I think like every successful person I've met, they're really good at just honoring it. Whether it's honoring the process, they don't take shortcuts, honoring people, they learn from it. Like, they're just good at honoring. The fact that happened to you and your response was to look inward says a lot about like the type of person that you are. Where do you feel like people, the fact that you were able to see that and say, okay, there's something inside of me I need to adjust. Where do you feel like people go wrong with being introspective and or evaluating? Are you let me put it this way. Are you a person who every morning wakes up and evaluates? Do you spend a lot of time reflecting, inwards, introspective, or is it just purely you just pay attention to details and they kind of come when they come?
Not necessarily. It's just like, it's just like I feel like I used to operate in a sense where it's just like I had to be like the best in any environment I'd be in.
Yeah.
I'm just like really competitive. But then I switched it. I was like, well, what if I can just, be a type of person that people look forward to seeing or
Yeah.
people enjoy being around. You know, not never used to be that guy, but I wasn't that guy. I wasn't living off those principles. You know what I mean? So it's just like when I adjusted, it's just like, what if I can just be an encouragement and a light to everybody around me? And as long as people left in a better way, then maybe I can make an impact. You know what I mean? And it pays off over time. You learn how to network way better when you learn how to bring value to people. And, you do enough favors for people, you're going to have a lot of favors owed to you.
Yeah.
And you don't have to see it like that, but it's just like, like for example, like when we had a baby, we probably still haven't bought anything for our child. It's just like we're flooded. Like you guys got me a gift. That was so awesome, and it's like, that was pretty cool. You know what I mean? So it's just like, now I make a point. It's just like somebody has, a big event or something, gift giving goes a long way. And, thinking about things other than money and what somebody can do for you personally, I think goes a long way when you actually care. You know what I mean?
I think Kanye said this. I'm a big Kanye fan, even though he's going through some things right now. But he said,
understatement of a century.
I want to do so much good in the world that my money's good nowhere.
Yeah,
exactly. And I think that's how you should live life. And I love that way of thinking.
Wow.
Yeah. But I feel like initially it is hard for people, especially for like new entrepreneurs that don't have a lot of, time freedom, they don't have a lot of capital, or so they think, and they operate very selfishly. But I think everybody has their own path and journey. I don't think there's like a direct blueprint of how you can be the best entrepreneur or leader. I think people have to just get out there and, find something that they enjoy to sell and develop a business around it and learn a bunch of things, make a bunch of mistakes, lose some money, or obviously not hoping that I don't. You'll
but
learn.
It's gonna happen.
Yeah. Like if you lose money, you'll learn not to lose money again.
Yes.
You lose an employee, you'll learn not to lose an employee.
Yeah.
You lose a leader, you'll learn not to lose a leader. You learn people steal from you, you'll make sure people won't steal from you again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it goes a long way when you treat people right.
I love what you said about impact. I feel like I'm right on the wave of what you're talking about. I think this is super helpful for people. You guys become, in however many years, X number of years, whatever, you're a $1 billion valued company. You guys are all over whatever that looks like on the business side. What type of impact do you hope your company has?
Yeah, so I mean, I pay attention that like everybody in my office is just like, if they're like required to go out and like meet people and network and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we're in real estate, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like, I literally coach on this. So I was like, you can't go to somebody if you have nothing to offer them, or if you don't want to intentionally help them.
Yeah.
You can't just go to somebody and just ask. You have to give, right? So yeah, it's just like you have to go out and literally make an impact on people in real life. Like it's crazy. We have trainings on that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I hear it a lot. Like when and a lot of it I think is because people aim probably a little higher than they should in terms of like networking and these things. Like, well, I can't get Gary Vee to respond to my DMs even though I'm telling him I'll work for him for free for a year. Like, how do people approach people they want to network with, they want to build a connection with, and actually provide value when maybe at their point in their business and career, they don't really have tangible value for you? Because like for a guy to work for you for free, probably is going to be worth, I spend more time for you to take away from your business than it is valuable for you at this point. You'd rather pay whatever you pay a year for somebody who really like already knows their stuff than to like get some free labor, I'm assuming.
Yeah. I mean, anybody can bring value. I mean, I guess in a general sense, it's just like there's always a purpose behind somebody doing something. So it's just like you have to come with a purpose. And a lot of people like to approach people. Like if I were to see Jay-Z, it's just like, what can I give Jay-Z?
Yeah.
Right? It's like, probably couldn't give him anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I would just enjoy to be around him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just like, I had to think about it. I was like, what could I get Jay-Z?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if I had no purpose in approaching Jay-Z and I'm like blowing his DMs up, he's gonna be like, what the fuck do you want, dude? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if I really wanted to fuck with Jay-Z, I'd go out and find the hottest artist out there that's unsigned or whatever. I was like, Jay-Z, I believe in this person. You know, let me put you guys in line. I don't want nothing from it. I just want to help this person and go about my day. You know,
crafty. Yeah, that's
what I'm saying.
Hey, that's a good. All right, so no VC. You're not doing any investment into companies. You're not.
What do you
mean? You don't invest into companies. I'm sure you get approached with deals in your DMs. People want you to.
Yeah, I mean, I've invested in companies. Mostly real estate though, but I've invested in some of my friends' ventures and stuff like that. And
sweet, man.
I mean, I know they'll pay me back, and if they don't, then they'll feel like shit the rest of their life.
Crypto, you're not a big crypto guy?
I'm not a big crypto guy, man. I invest into it, just it's kind of like gambling to me. I just
in case the whole world government.
I'm not like a trader,
Yeah.
Like I'll buy something, I'll never sell it. Like I still have so much dog coin where it's like ridiculous. I'll never sell. You know what I mean? Man. So it's just like I have no intention to sell anything. I'm like a hoarder.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'll invest into it, but I'm not expecting to like sell out.
Yeah. What should anybody do to get into wholesaling? I feel like I'll be honest with you. I respect you a lot. I feel like I've seen 1 billion wholesale influencers on Instagram.
Yeah.
Like I feel like every real estate person, I'm like, you don't have to have any money, and all you got to do, like, tangibly, what should a person do from an expert to get into wholesaling? Because it does feel like that's a good first step into real estate.
Well, yeah, I feel like a lot of gurus are out there like you don't need money, credit, and all this. And the reality of it is you do. I didn't get started with no money. I invested my own money. I invested money into marketing, and it was a lot easier. It was a lot less stressful than what everybody makes it seem like when you have an ability to do that. So I always encourage people, I was like, have a certain amount of money where you feel comfortable to spend in marketing so you can learn skills in the industry. And there's a lot of different ways you can go about finding off-market properties. I mean, you can go, Google my buddy Max Maxwell. There's a lot of cool points on how to do that. And it does require time and dedication because, if you go into any business with no intentions of winning or determination to actually get started, you'll never do that. So once you have that determination that, hey, I actually want to physically do this, then there's definitely ways to do it. And you don't have to do it on a big scale like us. I mean, you can do like a couple deals a year. You don't even have to wholesale, fix and flip properties. You can do 2 deals a year and make $60,000 on top of your income, and it's amazing.
Good life.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, not to go back to what Gary Vee said, but there's definitely a lot of ways to go about it. But yeah, I mean, have a specific amount of money where you're okay to invest into it, just like an actual business, and have a certain amount of time to invest into your skill set to be able to make it happen.
How can people mess with you? You guys source deals? Can they send you stuff? What can they do?
Yeah, I mean, if you guys have real estate deals or, if you guys want to buy real estate deals, contact us.
Yeah. People follow you on Instagram.
Yeah, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn.
Real quick, I want to hit the event. Now. You guys do these once a quarter. Real quick, I want to hit these.
We don't do the event once a quarter anymore. That was our last one.
That just changed?
Yeah, we just changed it.
So do you know when the next one's going to be?
I'm talking to my team right now. I'm going to have them make the decision on what they want to do, but I'm personally probably going to have like one conference a year. It'll probably be next year sometime, early next year. I haven't decided.
Yeah.
But yeah, that'll happen. I know my team's working on doing like mixers and stuff similar to the event, but without me involved, which would be awesome.
Sweet, man. You got anything else?
No, man.
This is great, man. I appreciate you coming on, D. I appreciate it a lot,
sure.
man.
Yeah. Appreciate it, brother.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was awesome.